VO in Stereo is sponsored by Bodalgo, international voice acting platform.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to VO in Stereo. I'm Jared Brushers. With me always, Stephen Coghill. Today's awesome. Today's beyond awesome. So our guest today spans the eternity of voiceover. Pretty much, he's done everything. I know him mostly from video games, but he's a living legend. Please help me welcome Mr. Dave Fennoy.
Wow, living legend. Gee whiz, thank you. That's very
Getting
kind
you on the
of
dance floor, so I know.
How are you guys? Stephen and Jared.
Very excited to see you. Very excited for you to be here.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Let's hope so.
Take your time, but after watching out over the earth. See, I told you Dave Fennoy was an angel.
He is. He's flying.
Oh no, look out!
Back to us.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stefan.
Yes, what I was saying was no. So, Dave, thank you for being on. Pleasure. My first question to everybody is, where are you from? Where did you?
Well, you know, I am from the place I last visited out of town. The first place I flew to since this whole pandemic thing started, which is Cleveland, Ohio. Wikipedia has it wrong.
Thank you. I was going to ask because I am in Maryland.
Wikipedia says Silver Spring, Maryland. I did live there for a while I was going to Hawkins School. While I was going to Howard University. But no, Cleveland, Ohio. And as I mentioned, I just came back from a high school reunion and for Hawkins School. It was a boys' school when I went there. It's co-ed now. Great school. I have a lot to thank them for educationally. My first year in college, I didn't have to crack a book. And because it was such a good school. And I was one of the first Black kids to go there. It's a private school in Ohio, just outside Cleveland.
That's awesome. Well,
Browns fan?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the Browns won while I was there. It was fantastic.
I got Cleveland for you.
Cleveland's having problems, though.
And we know crap, too, so.
The downtown area, they're doing some revitalization. The flats along the lake, revitalization. The suburbs are doing just great, but in between downtown and about 128th, 30th Street, where you start going up into the suburbs, unless it's Case Western Reserve or Cleveland Clinic, it's a ghost land.
That's a shame.
Kind of reminds me of Katrina. We drove through there after the second hurricane and was like, has anyone been here to clean up anything?
Yeah.
It still looks like a war zone. This is horrible. People don't understand how much time it takes to make transitions sometimes.
Absolutely. The funniest thing was, I'm living here in LA, and I was driving. I took the route that I used to go to school. I grew up in inner city Cleveland, and I would drive the route that I used to take, and it took some time to remember it. A few wrong turns, but it all came back to me. And I used to go through Cleveland Heights sometimes and through Shaker Heights sometimes. Shaker Heights was one of the richest suburbs at the time when I was growing up. And there were all these huge houses going Fairmount through Cleveland Heights. The boulevard just lined with, 5,000 and 6,000 square foot homes on, half an acre lots. And some of them are for sale for, $500,000, $600,000. And here in Los Angeles, that'd be 3 or 4 million at least.
Easy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So how long did you stay in Cleveland, Ohio?
Well, I was born there, and I did not leave until I was 18.
Oh, okay. So you spent your formidable years there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And but when I got out of high school, my parents moved to DC for my dad's job. And one of my earliest childhood memories, and I know we weren't going to be talking about Cleveland, but one of my earliest childhood memories was why my parents settled in Cleveland. Why couldn't we be in a real city? There's Chicago, there's New York, there's Detroit, there's LA. There's so many real cities we could have been in.
That's hilarious.
That's the chance of life, right? You never know.
Oh boy. Oh boy. So many things as a baby, you just arrive.
So did you get into a lot of trouble as a kid?
You know, I was a pretty good kid. I did get in trouble. I had some good talking tos and a few whoopings from mom and dad from time to time. I was kind of an explorer in terms of wandering around the neighborhood and doing things and forgetting time, not getting home when I was supposed to, or on my way to school. There's a ring of parks that go around Cleveland, and it's one of the most beautiful things and one of the best things about Cleveland. And I lived a couple doors from the parks. So sometimes my friends and I going to schools in elementary school, you know, let's play some tag as we're going through the parks, and let's do this while we're going. Let's go down to the creek and look at the frogs before we. And sometimes, nobody had a watch back then, and before you knew it, you were half an hour late for school.
You hear your mom yelling.
Your head would always do the same thing. You ever know where you would go?
Well, one of the things my mom used to say,
"Oh shit, I'm in trouble."
David Henderson Fennoy Jr., you don't know where you live. Don't you know where you live?
Get your middle name too.
Oh boy, yeah. When your middle name was in there, woo.
Mm-hmm. You knew you had trouble.
Trying to explain to the youth people of today. I was like, look, man, you don't understand. You used to get whooped 3 times before you even got home, and don't let Miss Johnson call your house and tell you were acting the fool on the way there.
Oh boy, oh boy, Jared, you ain't never lied.
Picking your own switch, please.
This was a time when if the teacher sent a note home or made a call to your house, your parents were on the side of the teacher, as opposed not my Johnny. My Johnny would never. What do you mean he pulled that girl's hair or he was bullying that? Oh, not my sweet.
Nowadays you have to be.
Oh, you got a paddle? Oh, it's got holes in it for aerodynamics.
How did you know? How did you? I didn't get spanked too much or whooped too much or paddle too much. I think one of the reasons my parents sent me to a private boys' school, besides the fact that Cleveland public schools were about to crash and burn. My mother was a school teacher there. I spent one semester at Harry E. Davis Junior High School, which was a public school, and I was a good kid, really. And they had this system when the bell went off, you got out of your class, you had to walk down one side of the hall, and the girls were on the other side of the hall. There were up stairways and down stairways, and I had a gym class, and somebody lost. It was like a quarter. Mr. So-and-so, I lost a quarter. I don't know where my money is. And the gym teacher kept us all there until somebody found this quarter. Well, it had fallen out of his pockets, and it was stuck in a little side of the locker. He thought, I found it. Oh, I guess nobody stole it. But by the time we were allowed to leave, we didn't have time to go up the stairs and all the way down that long hallway to get to the next stairs to go up and come all the way back down. And we missed the bell. And there were a couple of us, and we got paddled by the teacher for that, which, my sense of justice, I was outraged. And I told my parents, they had already planned on getting me into a private school, but that was just icing on the cake of let's get this kid someplace where he's going to have a little better chance.
Yeah, but that was a really good example of how the world works. Help somebody else look for their crap, get your butt whooped, and then get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Thank you, life. I appreciate it. Good looking out.
That's crazy time. So in school, were you creative at all? Were you part of the arts or were
Well,
you?
I was always more into the artistic and the historic rather than the scientific and mathematic. The one class I ever failed was an algebra class. And in my house, you didn't come home with anything less than a B. Every
Unless
now
you
and
had a
then,
real good eraser and you could fix it real good.
oh man, you're gonna make
Dave,
me
I
tell
couldn't
them
live at your
myself.
house.
See, now I smell another story.
Sixth
Smell
grade,
another story, Dave.
I had a teacher, Miss Blandon, and I got a D in arithmetic. I told you math was never my thing.
Not me either.
And by happenstance, Steve Harvey, the comedian, the guy who has 15 different TV shows going, Steve Harvey had the same teacher, Mrs. Blandon, and he didn't like her either, and she didn't like him either. But I got a D in mathematics, and I knew I wasn't supposed to get anything less than a B. And I'd seen my mother one time with some document. She took a little dropper of bleach and put it on something she had made a mistake on, and it bleached out the ink, and then she corrected it. Well, I thought, oh, well, this is what I'm going to do to this D that I got.
I'm going to get myself.
But I was a little more sloppy than my mom, and there are a few drops of bleach that hit this blue papered card. You know, she was doing it on a piece of paper that was white. So, well, then I filled it in, but then I said, you know what, I can't throw this. So I hid it. And it was the last report card of the school year before summer. And I got away with it for a week or two before some, we never did see your report card. Well, gosh, I left it there on the table just like always. And so then there was a house search for a few days. And finally my mom, well, I'm just going to call your teacher and find out what is. And then suddenly it appeared.
Isn't it funny how that happens?
Gosh, how did that happen? And my mother saw this. And she saw right through me, and she said, what happened here? Was, well, the teacher said she made a mistake and, she, had to clean it up and it was a little sloppy or something. And I got the speech. I used to hear this a lot. Look, tell me the truth in front so it won't hurt behind.
Oh, something tells me it hurt behind.
Oh, it hurt behind. I got my mother. I was doing summer school. I was taking French or something. And I came in from summer school and the back door was wide open. And I walked in the house, Mom, and I looked on the downstairs, went upstairs, looked in the bedrooms, and nobody up there. Came back down the stairs, and as I was coming down the stairs into the kitchen area, she was coming in through the back door. She'd been out there pulling a switch.
Oh,
she had cut herself a good switch, and boy, she tore my little tough tail up. And then later on, my father came home. And then he tore my little tough tail up. Now, she was into switches. He liked the belts.
Ooh, the nice leather ones that there was no faking back then. It was like, oh, you want leather or leather?
I can feel it already.
And then on top of the being spanked, they grounded me for the whole summer. Well, that lasted about a week. It's like
the tiger must get out of his cage.
We gotta get this boy out of here. He's driving us nuts in this house. But that was about deep into crime as I ever went.
That is hilarious. It would have been so much better for you to just be like, I got a D.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you're trying to, not get the little punishment that you think is going to be terrible, and you do something and now you got the big punishment.
Life lesson alert, everyone.
Life lesson alert. Life lesson alert.
Just tell them you got a D, you messed up. Sorry. I don't know what you're going to do at that point. Whether they might still beat you at that point. I'm not sure, right?
And think about, what did I think was going to happen?
right?
Yeah, like
You know,
outcome.
my parents are going to kill me. You know, we say that, but
Right.
it's very rare that a parent does kill a child. I mean, it happens. But,
That's true.
My favorite thing used to be to say when people are like, my dad will kick your dad's ass. I was like, that's fine because my mom will mess your dad up. I ain't worried about your dad. You ain't met my mom. My mom's 5'10", is raising 3 boys. She ain't gonna put up with none of your bullness.
you know, unfortunately, I never had that argument. My dad can beat your dad. But hey,
there's always a first.
Because my dad wasn't there. Just move on, guys. We're not gonna. Oh. Okay, so when did you know, like in your youth, that you knew that you were going to do something creative for the rest of your life?
Well, I kind of knew early on that I wanted to do something in the arts. I wouldn't have put it like that. It would, I want to be an actor or a musician. I don't think I was that self-aware as a kid. I have a sister. When she was 3, she decided to be a doctor. Nose to the grindstone, became a doctor. She's still nose to the grindstone doing her doctoring.
Good job, sis.
But my parents did expose me to the arts early. There in Cleveland is a community arts center, Karamu House, and any Black actor you see on television from Cleveland went to Karamu. And I went to Karamu House and I took modern dance and music. I played trumpet for a while and guitar, did some acting, painting, sculpture. They just exposed me to the creative world, and it never left me. It was always what I really enjoyed doing. I wish my parents had either had been Hollywood parents or had more of an understanding of what it took. My father was a veterinarian, my mom was a school teacher, and we were in Cleveland, so they didn't know quite how to expose me to more, but thank goodness they exposed me to what they did. But I went to school at McAllister College for theater when I first went off to college, and but I was also playing music. And I'd been a singer-songwriter. I had a little band when I was in high school.
What's
and
the name?
A little rock band.
What's the name?
What was the name of the band?
You know what? I don't. The Troubled Few. The Troubled Few.
That's a good name.
Man, I hadn't thought about the name of my high school band in years.
You know what, Dave?
Always a thing here.
We tend to bring out the stories that haven't been told.
man. But so I went to college for a couple of years, and then I dropped out and went on the road as a musician. I went to McAllister College in St. Paul, Minnesota, and when I got there, early on, there was some orientation event where they were asking people, "Oh, you got some talent? You want to come sing?" And I did, sang some of my songs. People liked them, and it kind of set me up for a career playing around the coffee shops in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and being a little bit of a campus celebrity, and certainly helped with the girls. After a couple of years, I decided, you know what, I'm going on the road as a musician. This is it. Nice. So I did. Cut an album in Texas. Had a cousin that lived down there, was a music promoter, a record promoter, and at Robin Hood Bryan Studios in Tyler, Texas. And Robin Hood Bryan Studios, the same place that what's her name? The Beards.
ZZ Top.
ZZ Top. It's the same place they recorded. But nobody wanted to pick it up. So I decided after a couple of years on the road, I'm going to go back to school of music. And I went to Howard University in the jazz program and finished there and met a lot of my now very good musician friends.
What was your instrument of choice?
Ooh. You notice how I noticed those guitars?
Yes.
Yeah, that was me. I was a guitar player.
All right. Okay. Because there's drums.
We all have something in common.
And there's keyboard too. So I was just curious.
Well, I never learned how to play the keyboard too much. But
it's also a bass or two back in the stuff.
Yeah. I would play the bass sometimes. I would play the bass sometimes. But guitar primarily, every now and then the bass. And I was more singer-songwriter, rhythm player than kick-ass lead guitar player, although I would play lead.
Rhythm, lead, rhythm, lead.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm like the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. That's me.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah. And while I was at Howard, I kind of learned two things. One, there were a lot of musicians that were really much more musicians than I was. I was pretty good, but I knew people that could play circles around me. And I think especially when you play guitar, you run into that all the time. But I had some bands there. We were Papers, Rolling Up the Funk and Delivering the Message. That was my band in DC, and we played around and put together another album. And I went out to LA and shopped it around. And once again, well, you guys are good. We don't know how to market you. You got some funk things happening here. You got some jazzy things happening here. You got some ballads happening here. You've got this singer, that singer, and that singer. You guys are really good, but we don't know how to market you. So ultimately, I got married, had a kid, and decided, I guess I'm not going to grow up to be a rock and roll star anyway. I know I'll go into radio to keep me close to music. So my wife at the time was going to go to UC Berkeley in a PhD program for plant physiology. Oh yes, actually. And
ridiculous.
And I started knocking on the radio doors. And you're supposed to go to some small town and start and move to a bigger town and move to a bigger town. But I kept knocking on the doors, insisting that I'm going to start my career right here in a major market. And I was fortunate enough to, I had taken the Columbia School of Broadcasting course. And, in retrospect, as a matter of fact, about the time I finished that, I went, well, that was a waste of time and money.
Not affiliated with CBS.
Yeah, not affiliated with CBS. But I started knocking on the doors of the radio stations in town. My first gig was a little station just over the hills in Contra Costa County at KWUN. And at the same time, I was working at a country western station as their continuity director. And I just wanted to get a foot in the door. And I kept asking him about, hey, can I get on the air? I know I hate the music that you're playing, and I'm black.
That was going to be my next question.
And have been, and are 20 years older than me, but and you're really good at what you're doing. And I was very good at a continuity director. And then two stations merged, our sister station. Back then we didn't have an internet. If you wanted to get commercials to somebody had to send you a reel-to-reel. And so continuity directors at the stations around town, if you didn't get that reel-to-reel that you needed, you'd make a copy and send it over to another station. So I knew all the other continuity directors, and there was this young lady. I'd never met her in person, but talked on the phone, helped each other back and forth. And I got wind of that they were going to fire her at the end of the week. And silly me, I decided not to just look out for myself. And I called her up and, hey, look, now you can't tell anybody that I told you this, but they're going to fire you on Friday. And I'm telling you this on this Monday or Tuesday, whatever, so that you have a chance to get your program together, your resume, and get out there, and it won't be a shock, and you start looking for another job. And of course, instead of going, I'm going to take that information and do that, she, Dave Fennoy just told me that I'm being fired.
And now you're in trouble.
So they fired us both. And so I was out of a job. But I went to another radio station, KBLX KRE. That was a FM AM station that was owned by Intercity Broadcasting, and interviewed over there. And they were happy to have me as a continuity director, and they also wanted me to write commercials for them for their sales department. So
Cool.
I did that for about a year, and I was really good at it. But once again, I was knocking on the door. But for some reason, actually, I do know the reason. The program director didn't like me because a girl in my department that he was having a little thing with didn't like me because she had wanted the job that they hired me for, you know, all this political mess.
I do.
And so, you know, I wasn't going to get on with him. But the program director of KRE really liked me. Roy Lee, he's no longer with us. God bless him. Big old heavy set brother, and KRE was playing old school R&B and blues. And so he put me on the air. And it was kind of a political mess there. But that was my first real good job. This is after I left KWUN. And I worked there for about a year. And then KSOL, the number one station in town, hired me. And I did over. As a matter of fact, I think I got the job on KSOL before I got the job on KRE. I can't remember these things now.
That's fine.
But
Disappointed, you know, the hell with it.
did overnights, fill-ins, and then I became the morning guy.
Nice.
The morning they fired the morning woman, Leslie Stovall, and hired me. And I was just going to be a fill-in, but I lasted and I lasted and
Everybody loved that fantastic voice.
Well, you know what? I think it was not the voice. I think it was the personality. I did a lot of goofy stuff. I would do all kinds of characters that I had on. I had Lance Swisher, who was my entertainment person. And, you know, every morning I'd be at the station with newspapers. And from what was in the news, I'd write some jokes. I had a character, Granny, that actually a comedian friend of mine would play Granny. And Granny was this old black woman that was still hip as hell and was everywhere. Wherever the happening stuff was happening, Granny was there. So that it became very popular. At another point, another R&B station hired me away for a bit, and KSOL hired me back. And then in 1989, after taking some voiceover classes, and by the way, early in my radio career, the morning guy at KBLX, that was the first station where I was writing commercials and being the continuity director there. He was leaving the station. Hey, what's going on, man? Where are you going? He goes, well, I'm going over to the city to do some voiceover work. I make more money doing that than I do on the radio. And he gave me a 5-minute spiel. You got to get a demo done, get an agent, and then you'll be auditioning, so forth and so on. Well, that never left me. Mm-hmm. That was always floating around. It didn't do anything about it for 2 or 3 years. But once I did, I'd made up my mind that as soon as I'm making as much money in voiceover as I am on the radio, I will quit radio and do voiceover. Well, we make plans, God laughs. And 1989, I had taken a course with an agent from Los Angeles, Lee Gilbert. And at the end of this 2-week workshop, she said, you know, you're pretty talented. You seem to be able to do commercials and animation, and TV promos, everything I'm throwing at you, you kind of get. We'd love to represent you at Sutton Barth and Venari in Los Angeles if you ever decide to move down. Well, at that time, I was the morning jock on the number one station in town, 107.7 KSOL. And I took her card and one day I'm gonna do that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Put it in my pocket. 3 months later, the station fired the whole staff, and one by one as you got off the air. And of course, I was first because I was the morning guy. And now I went home. Now, where did I put that card?
Right.
I know it's here someplace. Oh, look at that drawer. Look at that. And I finally found it.
Baby, we moving to LA, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, so you know, I love you.
Coming. That's coming.
I need to buy a whole bunch of microphones.
Yeah, well, this is a different time. You didn't need to buy a microphone then.
No, I'm just.
This is 1989, or actually fired me on February 9th, 1990. Why do I remember that date?
Because it was important to the structure of who you are, Mr. Fennoy.
That's right. So I found the card, called her up and said, so were you serious about that? She said, yeah. Put together a new demo and come on down. Well, I'd been working on the radio as Billy David Ocean.
Get into my car.
And as a matter of fact, I started as Billy Ocean. And when Billy Ocean came out with Caribbean Queen, I got tired of the calls. So, hey, man, I like your record. How come you're still on the radio? Shouldn't you be on tour or something? And I was like, dude, no, it's just another guy with the name Billy Ocean. And no, how can there be two Billy Oceans? Man, what's your name? Fred Smith. What do you think? There might be a Fred Smith someplace else on the planet. No. So to cut down on the crazy calls, I inserted my actual real first name in the middle of that, Billy David Ocean. And for the next few years, I was Billy David Ocean on the radio. So once I got that new demo done, I started commuting to Los Angeles every week. So I'd lived in Berkeley. So on Monday morning or Sunday night, I'd drive to LA. For the first month, I stayed with a buddy of mine, Tom Kafka, who I just saw at my high school reunion, as a matter of fact.
It's all coming together here.
And then a month later, I stayed with an aunt of mine, aunt and uncle, who lived there. And then I got a place, an apartment. But the whole time, for the next 8 months or so, I was commuting back and forth every week, 350 miles each way every week. Did that for a little over 8 months. And I tell that story often because if you want to do something, if you want to achieve something, you want to accomplish something that's different from what you're doing now, you're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to do more than what's on. You're going to have to eat more of life than what's on your plate right now. And finally, I was able to move my family down. We kept the house that we had up there. We moved down, bought a little house. Back then, it was $150,000, little house in Pasadena. And I was very fortunate. My career moved ahead.
Now it's worth $1 billion.
Yeah, $1 billion. And a few months or about a year or so later, it was 2 years. We bought a bigger house in Altadena, sitting up on a hill with a nice view and nice driveway. And by that time, I'm doing promos for ABC, CBS. I'm one of the voices of the Disney Channel. I'm doing some cartoons. I'm doing some commercials. And I actually had done a few video games. And video games at that point, that we're talking the early 90s, I thought of it more as just another form of animation. And they were few and far between because there just weren't that many of them at the time.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of voiceover in video games until, man, it's just like...
One of the first video games that I really remember having a lot of dialogue is Gex. It's about a gecko, but he was a smartass. And he was just a smartass all the way through the game. I was like, this is great.
It's almost like you're playing Jared.
When you go back and you listen to some of the voice acting in video games of that time in the mid to late 90s, there's some really awful stuff. Oh, yeah. It was a time, video games weren't a part of the union, and often, the games with voices and story were experimental. And a lot of times it was, hey, we need a girl on this. Right. Is the secretary, get her in here on her lunch break. And oh, by the way, we need an old guy. Is your dad retired? Can we get him? No, he's done no acting. Doesn't matter. He's old. Come on.
He can read, right? It's fine.
Yeah. But video games have come a long, long way. And although that seems to be the thing I'm known for most these days, I still do some of everything. When I was in Cleveland, I was in my hotel room getting ready to do something. The TV's on, and I heard, "Wait, is that me?" For Cashman Casino. You know, one of those little jobs that you get. It's a one-off. Who knows? Maybe they'll come back. Maybe they won't. I never hear them, but I do a lot of Lexus commercials that run around the country, and have been for about 15 years on R&B spots on the ethnic buys. My daughter in New York always said, "Oh, Dad, I was driving along. It was like I was talking to you." Then last night, even I'm watching TV, TMZ. I know I'm probably too old to be watching TMZ.
Yeah,
it's the same way here. I want to keep up no cap on what the kids is doing. It's all busting.
Yeah. And half the people, who the hell are they talking about?
Right.
But a show came on after, and I was doing. I was playing the role of an announcer at this high school dance contest. And I remember doing it a few weeks ago. But, you know, you do a job, you kind of forget about it. You're moving on to the next thing. And there it was, wait a minute, is that me? Oh, yeah, I remember doing that. Oh, yeah. I still don't remember what the name of the show is. I think I knew when I did the work. But I've been watching, I taped TMZ, and I was watching it after the fact. So it was just the beginning of this show at the tail end of the TMZ episode that I was watching. And I don't remember it. And it was a cold open, so I never saw what the name of the show was. So like, honey, I remember doing this now, but I don't know what the show is. And you know, the TV guy doesn't like to help you when you're trying to go back and look at what was on. They want to tell you what's going to come on.
Right.
I remember trying to explain to somebody that we used to get a little book made of paper, and you could plan your whole week of watching. Matter of fact, if you were lucky enough, you could plan a whole 2 week of watching, because guess what? It never changed.
Yeah, it never changed.
Explaining to my children, once you missed an episode, that was just it. You missed it for your whole life. You never got to see it.
No, you might wait until the summer for the rerun.
Reruns. That was the only way you're going to get it.
Yeah. I remember an old NBC campaign when they were playing their shows that it run during the fall, and now they're running it during the summer, and they say, but if you haven't seen it, it's new to you.
Exactly. See it again for the first time.
Dig it.
Something like that.
That was very nice. Thank you, Stephen.
I'm going to change my name.
I would like to know some of your inspirations and maybe some of your heroes that have helped you through your time.
Well, Percy Rodriguez, James Earl Jones, Adolph Caesar, as Black voices that did work that was general market. I think those three guys were my inspiration when I got into the business.
James Earl Jones' story about his professor purposely pissing him off because apparently he had a really bad speech impediment.
Yeah.
And his I don't know if you know this, Stephen, but his professor literally pissed him off because he noticed when he'd get angry or upset, he'd get, you know, he would focus and he'd be intent. And that's when he would start talking. He was like, ha ha, that's the magic. And man, I got goosebumps just thinking about it. I'm sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, you know, it's wonderful. Later on, a few years ago, I got a chance to meet him. I was being the booth announcer for one of the first Voice Arts Sova's Voice Awards, and he was receiving an award, and you know, he had to sit backstage where I was while he was waiting to go on, and so. Oh, Mr. Jones, James Earl Jones, I'm so happy to meet you. And I do you mind if we take a picture together? And we did, so I did a little selfie with him, and he told me it was his first selfie ever.
You took his first selfie with him?
His first selfie with him.
We should call it something different then. It should be a Wi-Fi.
Something.
I did it together.
Yeah. But he was just the nicest man. He's elderly now. And he was moving kind of slow, but his mind was still good, and he needed help getting around. But his spirit and who he was, such a nice, giving person, all that was still there.
Yeah,
that's awesome to hear. Because you always think about, sometimes you hear horror stories about some of your heroes and idols, and
I've met some of them too.
They're always going to disappoint you.
A few years ago, now this is going to come up in something, and I'll be in the news. And
I got your back, Dave.
TMZ.
But I was a booth announcer for a show later with Greg Kinnear. Before he had his movie career, he had a show that came on after The Tonight Show, and I was a booth announcer on that. One of the best jobs I've ever had. It was 20 seconds, 5 days a week, for $1,000 a day. And anyway, while I'm there, Crosby, Stills, and Nash were coming on. Now, I have a wide variety of types of music that I like. And I had liked Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young in the 70s. And Stephen Stills had been my favorite of the bunch because he was the best guitar player. Crosby's and Nash had come. Stephen Stills was running late, and I was waiting for him. I'd said hello to the other guys. It'd been very nice. He came in and, Stephen Stills, how you doing? I'm Dave Fennoy. I'm the booth announcer, and I just want you to know your dressing room is right down there. And, I always loved your music and blah, 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 blah. And he could not have been more of a jerk to me. He could not have been more dismissive or annoyed that someone bothered to tell him that I enjoyed your music. I'm a fan. And not only that, he had gotten fat and ugly. Instantly, my fandom of Stephen Stills was over. And I remember that lesson now when I'm going to conventions and whatnot to meet fans of my work, sign autographs, take pictures, and that kind of thing. Smile doesn't take but that. You don't have to be mean to anybody. Your problems aren't their problems. Step out of yourself and give that smile and that attention. And yes, sometimes people will get a little bit out of line. You learn how to handle it without being a jerk.
You do an amazing job by that. I've seen it.
Personally, yes, he has.
Yes, he does an amazing job of being very, very nice to people that are a little bit.
I try to be. The golden rule, I mean, I know it's old, it's been around for generation after generation, but it still works.
Dave Fennoy, I can be honest, you are the only man who's ever walked up to my family, grabbed my daughter's hand, and walked off to dance. And I looked at my wife, I was like, well, I guess she's Dave's now. I don't know what the hell's going on. She lives with Dave now. She's going off with Dave. She's gonna, what do we do? Let's follow Dave.
Bye.
I don't remember doing that. But the fact that you remember and it's a pleasant memory for you warms my heart.
Oh my God, my daughter talks it all the time. She told me to tell Dave hi. That's how well she thinks she knows.
Oh, well, tell her I said hello.
Tell Dave I said hi.
And I'm waiting for our next dance.
Right? I'm like, oh hell, I'll tell Dave you said hey, no big deal. Apparently you guys are going shopping next Tuesday or something. Just casual friends.
Oh, shopping?
Right?
just like a girl.
Yeah.
No, but you really do have that sense of warmth about you, and it's really nice to figure out when it's not fake, because there's so much, and even in this industry that is filled with a lot of love and a lot of attention and a lot of beautiful things in the garden, there's still going to be snakes. So congratulations on definitely being one of the real foundations of our industry still.
Oh, well, thank you. But you know what? I find a lot of flowers in our voiceover garden, to keep the metaphor going, and not very many snakes.
No.
One of the things I like about doing voiceover is how helpful everybody is, how supportive, how we like to cheer each other on. And sure, we all have that, you know, I auditioned for it, that person auditioned for it, I didn't get it, they got it. Sure, there might be a little bit of, gee, I really wanted that gig. But guess what? I'm going to get mine. And I've been getting mine. So there's no point in them. There's just no point in it. And for most of us, that's not what we don't live in the negative. We live in the positive. And I love that about the voiceover business.
Absolutely.
Another teachable moment right there. That is a lesson.
Yeah.
You'll get a hell of a lot further in this industry not being a jerk.
I think in the time we live in now, I remember Ernie Anderson, who, when I was growing up in Cleveland, he was the voice of Channel 5 and Goulart, he turned blue, purple caniff. And then he became, of course, the voice of ABC and the voice of Ford. He was the first millionaire voiceover guy, that voice, the Love Boat, you know, that guy. And he would sometimes curse out writers or producers or whatnot. But it was kind of an act with him. Once you said, hey, Ernie, cut the crap, we need to get this stuff done, he'd, okay, you got me, all right. And he told the line then.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember I met you at Get Your Game On, I think in LA. Yeah, I know, right? That was like before the whole world like started to close up on itself.
Yes.
COVID started taking over. Yeah, it was like the last thing that I did. Anyway. But you know, I just want to thank you for being on our production, Together We Rise, with 14 other cats, Dennis Kleiman and else.
Yeah.
I just want to appreciate.
Well, thank you. You know,
part of that.
I was proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, it's a great message, and we submitted it to the SOVA, so we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
We need lighthouses, and that's kind of what I was going to say. Like, going back to what you're talking about, when you have a chance to be something to somebody, you know, they're treating like your fans. You're only there because you have fans, that people that appreciate your work and continue. So if they're going to treat you as a lighthouse, you don't know what the hell they're going through and why they look up to you the way that they do. So if you take that one interaction and they may build you up like this, and if you take it with that one moment and you squish it, what the hell have you done?
And
how did you affect?
Now you lost a fan, and the things that they may share with people may lose you other fans. So you don't know how. It's better to, you know, be your best self, and save your not best self for when you're by yourself.
For exercise time.
Yeah, don't take it out on other people, especially when they don't deserve it.
Absolutely.
You know, I used to tease my sister that she was doing the real work and I was just having fun, because, you know, I love my work. But after going to conventions, you begin to understand that even though it doesn't seem like important work, it is important work, because you don't know how you are touching people. I can't tell you how many people have approached me to say that you become a father figure for me through Lee Everett. And that character has touched so many people. There's a autistic kid who, for a few years, when I met him at a convention with his mom, and she said, well, when he has fits and can't control himself, the one thing that calms him down is your voice. And I have lost track of them now, but I used to send them a little email from time to time talking to him. And, you know, he's probably grown now. That was, you know, 2014, 15. And he was 10 or 12 at the time. So he's a bit older now. But it's those kinds of things that you don't expect in a career. It's not putting any money in your pocket, but boy, talk about feeding your soul. It's wonderful.
It's so great that you did that, though. That's fantastic.
What is it that saying is, you can truly measure a man how he treats the people who can do nothing for him?
Yes. Yeah. Those of you who are single and dating, what does he or she, does he or she treat the waiter? I learned something from my wife. I'm a good patron. I don't treat waiters or whatnot with indignity or browbeat them. My wife, the first thing she's, oh, what's your name? That's what first thing she wants to know. What's your name? And I went, wow, she's better than me.
She actually wants to know their name. Wow, I thought it was
yeah.
Tag.
So we're going to game night next Tuesday. Okay, sounds good. I like Beth too. It's cool.
See you at bingo.
That's awesome. God, I've had such a good time. I could talk to you forever.
It is fantastic. You know, I love the fact that you do on Wednesday nights. You do your Ask Dave Fennoy.
Oh yeah, I love doing that.
I'm always on there, peeping you, spying you.
Well, that's good to hear.
I always get on there and try to keep myself from making things about your hair. Like I was trying to keep myself all interview from being, oh, you grew up in Cleveland, so the length of your hair must have been to keep you warm through all the winters. Because Jared is super jealous of your hair.
Except I didn't have this then.
No.
As a matter of fact, I barely was able to get an afro. My mom was, no, we'd be driving down the street and, oh, yeah, that afro looks nice on him. Oh, mom can get it. It looks nice on him.
Nice on him.
Not on my son, but it looks good on him.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, speaking of free advice Wednesdays, do you have any free advice that you want to give to anybody who's watching this that might be struggling in VO at this time?
Well, one, persist. Two, be you. Be you is one thing. When I got in the game, they were saying you need to be more you than I was at the time, because I was coming out of radio and you had that radio thing happen. But even beyond that, listen to the landscape of voiceover now. It's very much guy next door, girl next door, average person sharing some information with you. They're not selling, they're telling. The deeper and more mellifluous and beautiful your voice, the faster bad acting shows up. So, and we're not in a world now where we're paying attention to the words. We're paying attention to the thoughts and the feelings that are coming from a character. So less attention on what you're saying and how you're saying it in terms of, these are the words I'm trying to say, and I think that's the important word, and more on who you are as a character, what's your worldview. And this is across the board in voiceover. What's your worldview? Who are you? What are you thinking and feeling? Why did you say? You can tell I have hand signals from the years of teaching. What just happened that you're saying what you're saying? Every voiceover is a conversation. Speak as if you're expecting a response from the thing that you're going to say. And sometimes, even if it's that long, respond to what you think the look or the words may have been in that next sentence that you're going to say. The more you're just really talking to somebody, I think the more successful you're going to be.
How important is improvisation when reading a script?
Depending on what it is, it can be very important or not important at all. I know with commercials sometimes, one of the best things you can do is be that person. You got a little comedy commercial and those little ad libs you might add at the end of it are gold sometimes. Sometimes the thing you like about a commercial isn't what was actually first written. We all love that when we're lightening something up and it gives us a smile or a laugh. There are other times that you've got to read it just the way it was. So if you can ad lib, and you have that funny side, and you can be quick, that's a real asset. By the same token, don't think just because it didn't come to you right off the top of your head that that's the way it has to be. I was doing a gig with, oh God. Anyway, what's that?
I said him too. You're doing voiceover with God. That's awesome.
You know, his name is not.
I'm
Pat Fraley.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I was doing a gig with Pat Fraley, and we're about to do a next take, and he said, "Oh, hold up for a second. I'm not finished writing my ad lib." So sometimes that ad lib, he had to work it out a little bit.
Okay.
So you don't feel like everything has to come off the top of you. And after that, when I'm doing a commercial script and there's some funny thing that I'll start writing down some little ideas in between takes and whatnot. And it works. It works. But there are other times ad libs aren't needed. Animation, yes. Video games, not necessarily.
Gotcha.
E-learning, definitely not.
Yeah, don't start getting squirrely on e-learning.
Oh boy. And another place, the different genres have different levels of clarity, composure, and whatnot. If you're doing e-learning, and I know there's some e-learning that is still kind of fun, and but especially for kids, often what they're really looking for is very clear speaking, so they understand exactly what you're saying. And part of it is to make sure that they are learning to speak English well. A lot of e-learning, I do a lot of work for ABC Mouse, Age of Learning.
Very cool.
And part of their mission is not just to teach kids in America, but teach kids overseas, especially in China, where I remember I was trying to share the wealth and get some work for some friends of mine. I said, "Oh yeah, I know some English actors." "Oh no, we want American accents. They want American accents." And I said, "Who?" And they said, "Well, the Chinese, because our programs are big over there, and they're using them for kids to learn how to speak English, and they want them to speak with an American accent."
Wow.
ABC Mouse. My Gwyneth actually was raised on ABC Mouse. She got a lot out of it. So that's awesome. And thank you, because you contributed to learning.
Ah, there you go.
Hey.
Always a plus. Well, Dave, this has been such an amazing experience. We thank you so much for being here. This is the part of the program where you tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, I'm easy to find. If you're interested in voiceover lessons, davefennoy.com. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. It's on Facebook. It's open to the public. And if you want to check out past Ask Dave Fennoy's Anything, you can go to my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. So there I am.
Subscribe and follow.
Yeah, subscribe and follow. Yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to say that. Subscribe and follow.
We're supposed to be saying that every show either, because we always forget
subscribe and follow.
Every time.
And my Twitter is at Dave Fennoy. LinkedIn, Dave Fennoy, and it's all Dave Fennoy.
Everything Dave Fennoy. I love it.
I make it real simple.
It's very good. Billy David Ocean.
Yes, Billy David Ocean.
I know where I know people from sometimes when they say, "Hey, Billy Ocean, what's up, man?" And they're teasing me, and oh yeah, okay, that's Northern California. They were part of my radio life.
Well, everyone, we've had an amazing show, and we're gonna hang around and talk a little bit more. But as for you guys, you got to get out of here. So thanks for coming.
Everybody,
thank you, Dave.
I'm gonna tell them the really good stuff now.
And we're gonna share recipes.
So
Bye,
there.
everybody.